Hey everyone, I just recorded a 40+ minute video directly in YouTube, episode 3 of Supply Chain Wars, covering Ryder System Inc. and my time there. And unfortunately, right at the end when I pressed stop, YouTube crashed. I got an error message and couldn't even find the video at first. I just spent a bunch of time, found the video, but it must have crashed before downloading or uploading or whatever with the audio, so the video has no sound. You'd have to lip sync to know everything I'm saying, or read lips. But this time, maybe it was meant to be. We're gonna film it, and now I have my little buddy Scotty chilling with me here. This is Scotty. He was adopted on the day of Scotty Scheffler's wrongful arrest. I'm sure everyone knows about that from last year. Free Scotty was the campaign going on, and when I found this little guy at the shelter where I adopted my first cat, Dilbert, just went to visit the shelter, wasn't truly planning to adopt another cat at the time, was thinking about it. Found this little guy and wanted to free Scotty and named him rightfully so. So he's going to be here for this video while I talk about my awful experience and time at Ryder. Maybe it's for the better because I wasn't in a very good or excited mood. I haven't been lately. It's hard to be when all your work in the industry and your career and life's work is stolen from you by multiple companies. The most evil being Ryder System Inc. But I think I'll try to re-record it. Some of it might be repetitive a little bit from the last episode because Dotcom Distribution and Ryder overlapped after the acquisition. But I'll do the best I can. I don't have a script. Just wanted to kind of film this, and I kind of lost the passion and excitement I was almost going to film this a few days ago as Lucas Skywalker. I had the outfit ready to go. I have pictures from when I did that, but couldn't get myself to do it. I just wasn't in the mood to sit here and talk about Ryder System Inc. and everything they've done to ruin my life and other people's lives, just to put more money in their pocket and drive the stock up. So before I get into it, I do want to note, if you look at Ryder's stock, the ticker R, since their last earnings date, October 23rd, there's absolutely no reason the stock should be up. The market is not good. They haven't done anything good. Their financials weren't good. Yet you'll see that it's gone from a low of $157 all the way back up to a new 52-week high, a new all-time high over $200. That's because they're manipulating the stock and buying it up themselves, and there's nobody left to sell it. It's owned 94% by institutions. So I'm hoping maybe the institutions will get the message that you shouldn't be invested in a company like Ryder System Inc. Long term, they have no viable future. It's a terrible company. They're just doing what they can to elevate the stock price, manipulating it. Stock manipulation 101, using their 3.5 million share buyback as the only thing keeping the stock price up, so that the executives can sell at a higher price and exit, which you'll see. If you look at the details, those executives have been selling at a pretty high rate. I believe Robert Sanchez, CEO, sold nearly 18 million already in stock, cashed out this year. So just be careful. It's not a company that brands should want to be working with. You shouldn't be renting their trucks and supporting Ryder System Inc. in any way. But I'm tired of trying to tell everyone about how bad this company is and how evil they are and the things they're doing to ruin people's lives and hurt people to line their own pockets. So I guess it's on you when it all comes out eventually, which the truth always does come out. You'll realize that you shouldn't have been doing business with a company like Ryder. But I'll try to do it again. It's hard after just filming it for 40 minutes. What are you doing, crazy man? Just told the whole story of 9-10 months at Ryder System Inc. So it's hard enough to talk about one time, let alone to have to do it again because the sound didn't record properly. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. Where to begin again? So anyway, as you know, I think on the last episode I left off talking about how I think I got into my time at Ryder a little bit. Ryder acquired Dotcom Distribution, a company I'd been working at since 2020. They acquired Dotcom in November of 2022. I was skeptical right away when I found out we were acquired. I wasn't given any information ahead of time other than something was happening, which kind of sucked to not know what's going on. We were in the middle of a pretty big beauty brand bid at the time, and it clouded our ability to share information with the potential client, not knowing what was happening or who was buying us and what was going on. But anyway, so I get the call that we're acquired by Ryder as I'm about to walk into this Beauty Connect conference in LA. Literally getting out of the Uber, about to walk in, and I get the call from my boss that we were acquired by Ryder. I was supposed to be excited about it, and I was skeptical. I never would have chosen to work for a large public company like Ryder. There's too much red tape, and there's always sketchy things going on, especially in supply chain companies like that. And it's not something I would have wanted to be a part of, but I had no choice in the matter. So we're acquired by Ryder. I go into the conference trying to be excited, and yeah, we got some news, and the news came out the next day publicly, a statement that we had been acquired. And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble after having just filmed this for 40 minutes. It took everything I had in me just to be able to film that episode, because honestly, they've done so much damage to my life and to other people's, but I'll focus on me. That it's very hard to stay positive and happy, and I'm realizing more and more that people just don't give a shit. I've reported what they've done, not only talked about it to everyone I know. I have family and friends that think I'm the crazy one and don't believe me. But you'll see when the truth eventually comes out. It might be after I'm dead, but who knows? I just want the message out there and my story out there. So let me try to get back into storytelling mode here. We're now owned by Ryder System, Inc. I technically work for them, but I'm a .com employee with a .com email, and you'll see why that's relevant. So day one, I mean, I did not like the things they were saying when they first came to our .com offices to talk to us. I could tell it was a load of bullshit. Jeff Wolpov was there speaking to us with a bunch of the team, Brian Weinstein, my new boss that I was supposed to be happy to work for. I knew some things about Brian, not someone I ever would have chosen to work for. It's so hard to retell the story. I can't believe YouTube crashed on me. Had the whole thing all done. Now, mind you, I think you know from episode 1 with Tailored Services, I've been royally fucked over in this industry before and rebuilt again at .com, only to have the surprise acquisition happen. All right, I'm taking too long to get to some points here because there's a lot to talk about. 40 minutes in the last video, and I didn't have this 8-minute intro. God damn it. So anyway, I had no choice but to go with it, and listen, I'm now part of Ryder, right? Look at the bright side. We have more resources, larger team, 40,000+ employees, a bunch more facilities across the country, ability to maybe go after larger brands than I had gone after before. My pipeline was focused on small, mid-sized brands, health and beauty. We had our niche. That's why we were good at .com. And that's why Ryder came in and acquired us. God damn it, it's so hard to talk about all this. I wrote some things down, but anyway, so first major thing that happened after the acquisition, good peak season throughout December, all the way up until, I believe, December 22nd, just about 1 month exactly after the Ryder acquisition. There was a ransomware attack. I believe it was a Russian ransomware attack. Dotcom was a target because of the acquisition. So that shut down Dotcom's operation from 2 days before Christmas all the way through February of 2023. And I'm getting phone calls from clients, what's going on, why can't we ship? And what the ransomware attack did is it shut down our our systems and our entire operation. So Dotcom wasn't able to ship product for any of our customers for over a month. So obviously right when that happened, fielding phone calls from all my clients, trying to figure out what's going on. And I have Ryder and the executives there telling me not to say anything to our clients. Don't tell them what's going on. Stick to the script that they were giving us every so often of what we were allowed to share. And that just doesn't fly with me. I don't like lying to my clients. I like being transparent, honest, and truthful. That's just how I am in general, and I was raised that way. And that works well in business too. My clients trusted me. I had to fight this weird balance of being told by this new company that owned us not to say anything, and have my clients calling constantly asking what's going on. And I told them. I'm sure Ryder didn't like it, but I told them it was a ransomware attack and every bit of information I had at the time. But Ryder was not sharing information with us either to even let them know everything that was going on, when it might be fixed. Total fucking disaster. Embarrassing how it was handled for a public company that's supposed to be respected in the industry. But my God, I've learned that's all a facade. So anyway, that's probably where if I didn't already have a target on my back where they wanted to fuck me over, steal my book of business, and force me out because I wasn't chosen to work there and I didn't choose to work there either, that probably put a target on my back for sure, wanting to be honest with my clients about everything that was going on. So from that point, it just was downhill after that as well. Dotcom was on track because of the ransomware attack to lose about $7 million in business. And for our size of the company, that was extremely damaging, to the point that Ryder had been considering shutting down the entire investment, shutting Dotcom down and just calling it a wash and walking away. But there was hope, right? If I could close enough new business, even after a ransomware attack, which is even harder to do, but if I could close some new business, get some accounts in there, and the motivation behind that was to keep everyone employed, have everyone keep their jobs, and I don't need more motivation than that. That gets me going. So I was doing my thing, still working with Ryder. We're in early 2023, and amazingly, an account I had been working with and building a relationship with for several years, Pat McGrath Cosmetics, we were invited to their RFP. They were ready to move their business to a new provider. So that was a big deal. That's about a $5 million account. So that, in my mind, there's the opportunity. Got to win this one, save everyone's job, save the company. So I went all in on trying to win that and gave it more. I always give it 110%, and I'm the hardest worker you'll ever meet. Truly, I'm not just saying that to brag, but I care about my work. There's a reason I went into supply chain and changed careers. I wanted to enjoy what I do, and I loved it at the time. Since lost passion for the industry, just getting royally fucked over and having my life ruined by several companies. Hard to keep the passion alive for the industry and for life in general, honestly. But anyway, so I gave everything I had into winning that bid. I missed events with friends and family, spent nights, weekends, responding to things, filling out it's a lot of work. And that's what's hard about sales. Anyone who's in it knows it, whether any industry. You do all the work, and if you don't win, it means nothing. It was all a waste, right? I mean, maybe you build a good relationship for the future with the client, and you hope that people from that team go to different brands and come back. But I went all in on trying to win Pat McGrath Cosmetics because winning solves everything. And mind you, at the time, I'm already dealing with a bunch of bullshit from Ryder and the executives there, and my boss, Brian Weinstein, being bullied like crazy, like just treated so fucking miserably by these people, by Brian Weinstein, Jeff Wolpov. Those are the two main culprits that I dealt with. Where was I? Anyway, yeah, so here's what happened. When they first came in and spoke to us, Jeff Wolpov said, we're going to leave everything as is. We just want, you're a beautiful company. There's a reason we acquired you. Team structure is all going to stay the same for about a year before we do anything and officially move the whole company and fold it into Ryder. Nice way of saying, you'll have a little time before we totally destroy and get rid of .com like it never existed and just take your clients. But that wasn't the case with me. So Brian Weinstein had an assistant, and poor guy having to work for Brian Weinstein. Anyone who has to, it's fucking miserable if you're not one of his chosen favorites. And I'm not going to get into who those people were and the different ways he treats people, but certainly didn't like me. I wasn't a favorite. I was bullied like crazy. Never got a chance to speak on sales calls. I was always left till the very end, and if there was time, maybe 30 seconds to a minute at most. Even though I was fully prepared and had to be every time with the accounts I wanted to talk about, never really got a chance to talk and get feedback from the team on anything I was doing. But Brian's assistant, because he treats people so miserably, quit. Can't blame him. We're still friends. He was bullied by Brian as well, mistreated. Brian Weinstein, truly, if he doesn't like you, is one of the worst, most miserable human beings I've ever dealt with in my entire life. And maybe he'll seem nice to you and seem like a cool guy on the outside, but it's all a facade. Same with Jeff Wolpov. And it's sad that Robert Sanchez, Ryder's CEO, allows this type of culture to exist and allows these things to happen. He's fully responsible as well. So Brian Weinstein steals my assistant. Mind you, I loved the team I had. That was part of why I chose to work there. More important than the money, because I just don't care about money. I never have. I was raised to not view it as the most important thing. Yes, you need enough to survive, and I've always had more than enough. And I'm very generous with my money when I have it, because it doesn't mean that much to me. I can always make more money. God, it's really hard having just talked about all this stuff for 40 minutes to try to repeat it. But anyway, so they steal my assistant. No replacement. I'm just no longer have an assistant. My whole structure of what I'm used to working, how I'm used to working, is basically changed from day one. Maybe it was like a month in, so early 2023. So there goes my assistant. Now I'm having to do all this extra work that normally we don't have to do. We have a process. We have a way we do things. I have my sales assistant, my marketing guy, who they also pulled over to Ryder, and good for him. Got a great package and was able to take care of his family, even though I know he wanted to work with me, and we talked about it many times. If I ever had the budget to hire him, he was my first hire when I eventually left and started my own company. But let me try to stay focused here. So I'm being mistreated by Ryder. I'm getting a bad feeling about being there, and the bullying and harassment by Brian Weinstein just was nonstop. I raised it to HR and several people, mostly at Dotcom, because I didn't know who to talk to at Ryder about something like this, having only been there for a short period of time and wasn't sure who I could really trust there. Rightfully so, as you can see on the recorded HR phone call from August 25th, 2023. I'm glad I didn't try to put my trust into Ryder HR or any of those team members. Always backfired and led to worse bullying and more mistreatment and more harassment. So let's see. I get into this Pat McGrath bid. I did everything I possibly could to try to win that account, and we did. Got the verbal win, and I was told by my team that winning solves everything. Get the win, go out and win the business we need, and the rest of the problems that you're having with Brian and the team and the bullying, and that all goes away, right? Just prove yourself to me. I didn't have to prove myself to anyone. I know what my worth and what I'm capable of and my history and what I've done, but Ryder's new, so I guess I got myself okay with having to prove myself yet again, and I did. I won the account. So after the threat of losing almost $7 million of business because of the ransomware attack and possibly having to shut down .com entirely, we won a $5 million account. We got the verbal win. But then, because I was told not to tell this new potential client about the ransomware attack that had happened, even though my opinion differed from Ryder, I thought it was best to be honest and transparent and tell them what had happened and tell them all the new the new security measures that we had in place to protect against the ransomware attack in the future were much stronger, supposedly. So I view that as a positive, and I didn't like withholding information and not being transparent with a potential client. So get the verbal win. Maybe like a week later, less than that, Pat McGrath Cosmetics found out about the ransomware attack and what had happened. So that put the entire win at risk. Now, mind you, this is an account I'd been chasing and getting to know and building a relationship with their team for several years prior to the Ryder acquisition. Because you don't just win an account. You build relationships, you network, you build a pipeline of business. I met with the Pat McGrath team several times in the years prior, toured them through our facility before they were eventually actually looking to move the business. So then the Ryder was having a meeting with Pat McGrath, with the Pat McGrath team, and some of our Dotcom execs. And I wasn't invited to join the meeting, even though I'm the main guy on the account, right? This is my account. I handled everything throughout the entire RFP process, giving up my nights and weekends and missing events with family and friends. So somehow I'm excluded from that meeting, and whatever was said in that meeting, I guess got them comfortable, and we were still able to win the account. And let me tell you, that was exciting. Winning solves everything, right? My problems with being bullied by Brian Weinstein and the team, that I kind of hoped and expected that to all go away now that I won an account that was saving the company from having to be shut down. Saving people's jobs, that's the motivation for me. I was kind of like a dot-com hero at the time, right? Kept us alive, huge win for us, one of the biggest wins we'd had in years. So there I am thinking it's going to get better, but it only got worse. Nothing improved with the way I was treated. So I want to make sure I cover everything. Let's go into the next sort of stuff that was happening. Now I'm being promised that I'm going to be moved over to Ryder at some point. Listen, the entire time after the acquisition, from November 2022 through August 2023, I was never moved over to Ryder, never given a Ryder email address, so I'm still selling for Ryder with a .com email. So it was very confusing, like treating me like a .com employee when it was convenient for them to do that, treating me like a Ryder employee when it was convenient for them to do that. Always whatever was least beneficial to me and helped them the most and made me look bad or whatever. Truly one of the worst transitions after an acquisition I've ever seen. I didn't expect that a public company could be so bad at moving a company and employees over after an acquisition. Just so poorly handled, no processes, no procedures. Just one of the most miserable experiences of my life being a part of that acquisition. So where was I? Let's focus now. I'm waiting for this new comp package and all these promises coming. And this is Jeff Wolpov and Brian Weinstein and my .com execs telling me, just wait, you're going to be moved over, it's going to be worth it, your comp's going to be adjusted accordingly. And plus, I just won Pat McGrath Cosmetics. I'm so pumped that that's worth $125,000 to $150,000 in commission over the next 2 years, and I had plans for that money to give it to my parents and have my mom retire. I didn't want my mom working anymore. I wanted to know that they were safe and okay and had enough money to do the things they wanted to do, enjoy their lives. I can always go make more money, so it didn't, that's my motivation. So I'm feeling better about the situation at this time, and I'm also fielding interest from other companies that wanted to hire me and move me into a larger role, a role that I deserve to be in. One of which I was taking very seriously. It was for a vice president of business development role where I would be able to build out my own team. I was already in a second interview, and the next one scheduled was with the CEO of that company. And I really heavily debated and spoke with family and friends on if I should be transparent with Ryder about it. Wish I hadn't been, but I always said, if in the future, when I look back, I'll always be able to say at least I was honest, unlike the Ryder folks and executives. So I told Jeff Wolpov that and Brian Weinstein, I'm getting a lot of interest from other companies, and I'm having to take it seriously because all these promises of moving me over, this is now 4, 5, 6 months into being acquired by Ryder and still not moved over, all these promises. And I was like, I can't wait around if an opportunity comes like that where I can be, much better comp and the opportunity to build my own team and be in charge of sales. I deserve that opportunity, and I'm going to take it. And I asked Jeff Wolpov, because I was feeling pretty confident about this opportunity. The meeting with the CEO of this other company was coming up the following week. And I asked Jeff Wolpov about it, and he said he appreciated the honesty and transparency, but I don't think he did. I said, what should I do if I get this offer? Should I take it, or should I wait for this Ryder offer that's coming? And he told me I should wait for the Ryder offer. And weirdly enough, he told me he's friends with the CEO of that company. Everything's connected. It's very strange. So he told me he's friends with the CEO of this company. I had a great final interview with them, and then I never heard anything back. Not even we're not going to be offered. We're not going to be moving forward. Kind of strange to me. I'm not going to lie. Listen, anyone out there is going to tell me, oh, you just didn't get the role. But I know Jeff Wolpov spoke to the CEO of that company and said something or did something, because complete cutoff of communication made absolutely no sense. Anyway, so I'm waiting still for this Ryder offer that's supposedly coming, moving me over, the new package, new comp structure. I'll be on the Ryder commission plan, which I should have already been on. And let's be real, I'm how many months into the acquisition? I win the biggest first account win between Dotcom and Ryder. I wrote the contract for it. They asked me, because I have experience doing all these things, right? I can do the legal stuff, IT, operations. I've worked at small, mid-sized 3PLs. I had my hands in every aspect of it: pricing, engineering, building out all the models. That's what I loved about what I did and the size companies I was at. I got to do everything and learn how to do everything. So I became very valuable. I know my worth and how good I am at what I do, and when I set my mind to doing something. So anyway, I write the contract, did everything for this Pat McGrath deal. We win it. I didn't get the Ryder compensation package, even though that would have made a lot of sense at the time, which included 25% of the projected commission up front, upon signing of the contract. The only thing I got was maybe like one email saying congrats from Jeff Wolpov. And somewhere I have a screenshot of that email, and I have everything documented. And I took notes, and I'm very detailed, and especially at that time with everything that was going on and a lot of the weird things that were happening, I have all my notes still dated, timestamped, documented, everything that they did, said, every phone call, all documented appropriately. Thank God I did. Maybe it won't matter in the end because nobody seems to give a fuck about all this, the crimes Ryder's committing, the lives they're ruining. But let me try to stay on point here on the story. I'm really having trouble after having already done it for 40 minutes before. So anyway, I'm still waiting right after this phone call with Jeff telling me to wait for the Ryder deal, the Ryder package coming. Supposedly that happens when when your boss takes you to breakfast or lunch. So I eventually got the invite from Brian to go to breakfast. And I'm thinking, finally, okay, I'm curious to see what this new deal they've been talking about and talking up. That breakfast was truly one of the most miserable experiences of my life, having to sit there for 45 minutes or an hour with Brian Weinstein, basically telling me how terrible I am as a person, as an employee. Mind you, I just won Pat McGrath Cosmetics. I'm well above my target book of business. Pat McGrath being $5 million alone, that was more than double my target, plus my other accounts that I had. So I just had to sit there and listen to this bullshit and nonsense from one of the most miserable human beings I almost feel bad for the guy. If to be that miserable towards other people, you must have a really bad life. You must be really fucking miserable yourself. So I'm just shocked that people like that are allowed to move up in the world and continue to get away with the things they get away with just to put more money in their pockets. But So I left that breakfast knowing that it's not going to work here at Ryder unless I do something. I didn't know what to do. I'm just astonished. No new comp offer, no new package to move over to Ryder. Just Brian's notes on how I can improve and do better, which was complete and utter bullshit. Took everything in me not to just get up and walk the fuck out and pop him a middle finger and say, fuck you, asshole. But I'm a respectful, polite human being, so I didn't do that. And I left. Let me make sure I cover everything. So another incident that happened that I do want to talk about. My father was in a really bad boating accident. This was, I have to look back at the timing. It was the summer of 2023. I got the phone call. Honestly, I thought the way my mom first was talking on the phone, she was very upset, and I thought she was about to tell me my father didn't make it. But it was a really bad boating accident. A piece of a floating dock had broken off and was in the floating just underneath the ocean, the water, where you couldn't see it. So the boat hit it. One of my dad's friends was thrown from the boat. Thank God, they all survived. Some real injuries, but they were okay. But it was scary getting a phone call like that, because I've gotten those phone calls and lost people and got the bad news before, and it just felt very much like that. My heart sank before my mom told me he was okay, but I needed the next day off. I was going to go see my parents and spend some time with my father, talk about the boat and how to be. I don't know. I was freaking out. I was even thinking maybe it's not good to have a boat. Maybe we should just do a rental where you have somebody driving it, and I don't know. But anyway, just wanted to go home, spend a little time, make sure my dad was okay, make sure his friends were okay that were on the boat and the family. And that was apparently like a bit of an issue. All I wanted was the day to spend with my father and my parents. And Brian Weinstein still told me I had to join in for the sales call, which I never get to speak on anyway, so it's always a waste of my time. But I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm sitting in the living room with my parents, trying to spend time with my father, who's recovering. And I joined the fucking Ryder sales call and prepped for it, did all the work ahead of time, my account summaries and everything, which I couldn't do in the Ryder system because I didn't have access to any Ryder system still. I was still on a .com email address, being treated as a .com employee, but working for Ryder, selling for Ryder. None of it made any sense. It was fucking embarrassing how they handled the whole thing. And I barely got to speak. It was a waste of my time. I got like a minute at the end of that phone call. And my dad was like, why did they even have you join? I can't even take a day to spend with my family when something tragic happens. And I forget if I might have left out something that I meant to, because I talked about it on the first call. Not long, I mean, I'm going to go back in time from the boating accident. This was before Pat McGrath win. This was early on, maybe like January 2020, or February, I think. February. I got a phone call on a Saturday that my grandmother took a very bad turn and wasn't going to make it. She was maybe any day now. That was really rough to get that phone call very early on a Saturday morning. And the moment I hung up, I got a phone call from the CEO of Dotcom coming in. And I answered and was like, hey, yeah, listen, I just got a really bad phone call. My grandmother's not doing well. She's not going to make it much longer. Instead of giving a shit about what the bad news on a Saturday that I had just received, I mean, I got other bad news. My boss had a serious medical issue happen that he was gonna be out for a period of time, for months, possibly for much longer. So just back-to-back bad news on a Saturday morning. And I was told some Ryder execs were going to be calling me to figure out a game plan that I was going to, be having to step up and take over some more additional responsibility, which happy to do always. My concern was with not only my grandmother and wanting to see her, but also with my boss and making sure he was okay and recovering okay. That's what's important, and not Ryder and not any of the work nonsense. But I get phone calls from Jeff Wolpov and Brian Weinstein. Now my Saturday is being filled with figuring out what they wanted to do. They wanted a all hands team meeting at Dotcom Monday morning, first thing, super early in the morning, like an 8 a.m. meeting. And obviously I'm close with all the Dotcom team members. They, even though it's a month and a half, 2 months into the acquisition, still didn't know everyone. So they're asking me to organize it. So I'm on the phone calling everybody, sending emails, planning this early Monday morning meeting with the Dotcom team at our office. So I did all of that, and mind you, this is them taking my time on a Saturday. I understand the emergency situation, and I was fine with it. But I might have already covered. It's so hard to remember what I talked about on the first video and on this one, having just done it. So anyway, yeah, that was weird, because then I was still treated poorly and excluded from everything, even after doing all of that and organizing that meeting. And it was just so embarrassing how they handled everything. Okay, so now that I made sure I mentioned that, let's go back to where I was with coming out of this meeting, this breakfast meeting with Brian Weinstein. No new offer for me to move over to Ryder, which would have solved a lot of problems if I just got put into the Ryder system and had an email and could access all the systems we were using. Everything I was having to do had to be done outside the system manually, and then entered into the Ryder system separately by someone who had access, which was my assistant that Brian Weinstein stole from me. So him and I were spending all this extra time during the weeks, and they didn't seem to believe me how long it was taking. It was such a manual bullshit process that they were having us do, taking away from my ability to build my pipeline and continue to sell. But anytime I raised a problem, I was just treated worse. It almost became, there was nothing I could do when I just had to take their bullshit, and deal with it and waste my time. Anyway, let me make sure I'm getting to this. I hate that I'm almost at 40 minutes already, and I don't think I've nearly finished. Jesus, really losing motivation here. All right, so the next thing, I'm scrambling, right? I've done everything I can. Winning solves everything. It didn't, right? I go win the biggest account we'd won in years for Dotcom, and it didn't solve anything. I'm still being treated poorly, mistreated by Brian Weinstein. Then something came up on a sales call. One of the reps said we lost this account, an apparel account. And it was an account that Ryder should have had a much better chance to win, and the company that they lost to didn't have as much experience in that vertical, handling apparel. And I was kind of thinking about it, and turns out it's an apparel company where I know one of the co-founders, and I'm friends with him very well. And I'm thinking, maybe this is a good opportunity, even though I don't have to prove anything, but here's a chance where I can get us maybe another shot at winning this account. So I get in touch with the other, and I asked, should I try to get us another crack at it? And they said, of course, yeah, please. So didn't do anything that I wasn't authorized to do, but I get in touch with the co-founder of this apparel company, and I'm talking to him, explaining that I'm now part of Ryder, and I really think something might have slipped through the cracks or missed to not really view Ryder as the right opportunity or the right provider to handle their business. So we got another crack at it. And I guess what I didn't know was that this account and everything that was done previously was mostly done by Brian Weinstein. So it almost, me getting us another crack at it, I told him I don't want the commission on it, give it to the rep that was handling it. This is just my contribution. I happen to know the co-founder. I'll get us into this bid and get us another shot at it. I don't want anything out of it other than getting us another chance to win an account, a nice size account, several $1 million. So I get us another chance evaluating it, and I find out it was really Brian Weinstein that wasn't listening to the client and what they were saying about their business, and didn't believe them on certain things and didn't model it correctly. So I'm working with our engineers, but it wasn't taken seriously. Even though I did all this effort and used my relationship to get us another shot at winning this account, it wasn't taken seriously by Brian Weinstein, because you think about it, how bad it makes him look. If I come in, I didn't think about this. I just viewed the positive. Let's get another shot at winning this business. But egos get in the way. And someone who doesn't really ever let that happen to me. I don't let my ego get in the way of business or work or anything like that. I just always want to do what's best for the team and the company. But it made Brian look, he felt, I'm sure, and that's why the mistreatment got worse, much worse after this, which is hard to believe that it could get any worse than it already was. But I got us another shot at this account, wasn't taken seriously, and it made Brian look very bad because he's the one that didn't listen to the client previously. And I have messages from the client telling me, really appreciate you sharing more about Ryder and showing us that you do understand our business, and it could have worked. And they took it seriously enough that we almost had a shot at winning it, but it wasn't enough because, like I said, internally at Ryder, Brian Weinstein and the team did not take it seriously and wouldn't do the things that we needed to do to win that account. So anyway, don't win it, but it still should have been a good thing, right? I guess adding more value, getting us into a bid that we had already lost with my relationships. So the mistreatment just got worse and worse, and the bullying by Brian and Jeff. So I racked my brain on how I could get out. Like, what was my escape plan here? I know Jeff had already ruined my opportunity with that company that I had interviewed with. I may never get proven, but that's fine. I know. And people can call me crazy if you want, or paranoid, whatever. I don't care. I know the truth. I know exactly what happened. And you'll learn more in the next video when I talk about Lucas Solutions and starting my own company. It's a good transition right here, though. So my escape plan to try to get away from Ryder, since I still didn't have an offer from them to move over, I'm still functioning on a .com email. This is, 7 months in to the acquisition, but supposed to be a Ryder employee, getting all these promises. I did my part. I won huge accounts, got us into opportunities, some that weren't taken seriously, or that they just turned down for strange reasons, right? Like, it's not too many bulky products or too many SKUs, accounts we could have done very well on, could have made our margins once I priced it with the team, several multi-million-dollar accounts that just, I don't know, I believe because they were coming from me, they weren't taken seriously. Brian Weinstein and the Ryder execs didn't want to see me be any more successful than I already had been. I think it put them in a weird place when I won Pat McGrath Cosmetics because they didn't want me to be successful. They just wanted to get rid of me. But I just kept making it harder and harder by working hard, being a good person, and listen, my team, and I think I'm a pretty good teammate, and I work well with people. That's part of what I love doing and why I enjoyed what I do. It's working with the ops folks, the team members, the other sales reps. I was able to find some positives in being at Ryder. So anyway, working on my escape plan. How do I get away from this bully criminal? I've raised the issue with executives at Dotcom, with Ryder HR. Nothing ever done. There seems to be, at this point, I don't know what else I can do to get away from this guy. And the strange part to me is it's a company of 40,000 plus employees, with so many different divisions and teams that operate completely separate. And I could have just moved over to a different team, selling transportation or whatever else, right? There's a million things I could have done. But I didn't want to walk away from my commission on the Pat McGrath deal. And I had momentum. There's something to be said about being the guy that won one of the biggest beauty brands that moved their business that entire year. And that was me. So I'm not only coming from .com, the health and beauty focus, that was our niche, and then I go win the biggest beauty brand RFP of the year. I had a lot of momentum, and I would have kept winning. That's how it is in this business, and I've been in it long enough. There's periods of time where it's quiet and nothing happens, and you're not winning anything, and not a lot of activity, and then there's all of a sudden it just happens, and you get momentum. You win one, you win three, you get on a run. But I wasn't given the chance to capitalize on the momentum I had because I was forced out by Ryder, and we'll get to that. But I come up with this plan. I'm like, we're turning away all these accounts that I'm getting us into, multi-million-dollar accounts, large enough to be at Ryder, well above the minimum size that they look for. But that's another thing. There were some that are smaller that I still wanted to work with that normally at .com we would handle. and you can make money on those, and those are accounts that can grow over the next. I'm very good at identifying the brands that are going to be successful early on, right? So you win and support an account, a brand early on, you're their provider, you're their guy. By the time that they're attractive for everyone else and all the large providers, they're already working with you. And I've seen it. I've seen brands as startups go to doing 100,000 orders a month. Some of the biggest ones, I won't name brands on here, but I've been fortunate to meet some really cool founders early on while they're starting their companies. And I always love that. That's part of what maybe motivated me to start my own company, was watching these founders just do it and watching them be successful over years. So anyway, I come up with a plan to start a company for Ryder, or a new division, where I'll handle the things that they didn't really want to handle, whether it's bulky product, too many SKUs, all these other reasons and factors, but accounts that you can make money on and be successful on. And I was like, why don't you let me, I spent nights and weekends working on it. I wasn't letting it take away from my sales and my job. And I was doing this for Ryder. So I put together pretty detailed plans. I've been in the industry long enough. I have all the contacts you could ever need to start my own company. I laid out very detailed, and I still have all the notes and the plans, very detailed plans for building a company for Ryder, where I would basically take their garbage and turn it into gold, right? If I could take all these accounts, millions and millions and millions of dollars of business, make it profitable, because that's what they, I guess, were afraid of, diluting their margins as a public company, but it can be done, and we can be profitable and handle all these businesses that will also grow, whether it's the smaller ones that eventually grow and take off, or the ones that you really weren't that interested in. Maybe it's bulky product, but there's ways to do it. So it's really incredible plans. I spent a lot of time, and this was my escape plan to get away from a bullying and the bullying and harassment by Brian Weinstein. And that had kind of shifted to be from Jeff Wolpov as well. Brian thought I went over his head. I'll get to it. I'm confusing the timeline again. I'm sorry, but because of the previous filming of this video. And I'll show you that it's recorded, but it has no sound. It's pretty funny. So I put these plans together, and I had texted Brian about an account, a specific question about an account, and I didn't hear back from him the previous day. Not that I would have gone to him anyway with my plans to like form this new division of Ryder to handle these accounts. That's not something he could really approve or have anything, or should have anything to do with. And Jeff Wolpov had given me his cell phone number and always said, reach out, call if you need anything. Mind you, these are people that called me on a Saturday morning when my boss had a medical emergency and had me spend my Saturday organizing a meeting at Dotcom. So we'll get to that. So I hadn't heard back from Brian anyway. I was told maybe he's on vacation or something. So I text Jeff Wolpov, and we get on a call to talk about my plans. And I was pretty excited, and he seemed very interested and excited about it as well. And I was like, listen, it's not formalized yet. I don't have some pretty presentation. I didn't have all these AI tools at the time where I could have quickly put it into a beautiful deck. But all very detailed handwritten notes with all people that I wanted to hire, resources that I could lean on, whether it's for racking and equipment, but my network, my supply chain career and opportunities to build a company because of it, all written down on these notes. And Jeff seemed to like the idea. I wasn't sure how the board would take it, but wanted to explore it further. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll send you my notes on everything. So we hang up, and I send Jeff a bunch of the pictures of my notes, so the best I could put it together. I wasn't going to spend time. It takes me forever to put together, not these days anymore with all the tools we have, but at the time to put together a PowerPoint presentation or something, I would have needed a lot more time. Time was of the essence here, as far as personally myself getting the fuck away from Brian Weinstein and not having to deal with his bullying anymore. So I send Jeff those plans, which ended up, I'm looking back, and I only really thought about it a few months ago. What a mistake. I gave them everything I've ended up planning to do for Lucas Solutions. If they ever wanted to stop me, which they did, if I became a threat to them, which I did, they had everything they needed to do a bunch of illegal things and go behind my back and try to stop me. So then it took a weird turn. All of a sudden, Jeff texted me, seemed annoyed. Mind you, we had a conversation, 15, 20 minutes, great conversation about the plans. He wanted to see the details and more notes. We were supposed to have another call. And then it just took a 180. And then I found out Brian Weinstein was furious that I went above his head to Jeff with these plans, even though these plans had nothing to do with Brian Weinstein, nor did I want him to be a part of it. I tried to be nice in the plans. I actually put that Brian could be on the board, that Jeff could be on the board, because I was trying to get on their good side. I did everything I could up to this point to stop being treated so poorly, and to be taken more seriously and to get the respect I deserve, which every human being deserves. I wasn't even being treated like a human. But it took a very bad turn. Then I'm just completely mistreated by Jeff, and Brian Weinstein's treatment of me got much worse after that. And I think he also took it out on some of my colleagues, which really sucks. But so the next big thing that I'm gonna make sure I bring up, we get to middle of August of 2023. So we're 8.5 months into the year. And I mind you, remember my target book of business was like 2.5 million. I'm at 7 million already. I closed Pat McGrath Cosmetics even after a ransomware attack, saved Dotcom, saved everybody's jobs. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself, but still confused about this whole ridiculous transition and how poor it was. And every time I tried to report the issues going on with Brian, I was shot down and just told to keep my head down, go win more accounts. Like, what more do I have to do? I just won the biggest beauty brand move of the year, even with a ransomware attack and all this nonsense. But August 16th, I think I'd already been sent previously, but I remember this email and I have it. August 16th, 2023, I get an email that my new target for the current year, for 2023, was $16 million. I have 3.5 months left in the year, and that includes Q4 holiday where nobody moves their business, and I'm hit with a new target. No compensation, not getting moved over to Ryder, no Ryder email so I can access the systems properly and actually do my job much easier how I'm supposed to be able to. But here's your new target, $16 million. Good luck. I'm obviously not an idiot. I see what they're trying to do. They want to force me out, take my commission, not fire me, but make my life so fucking miserable, which they were doing a damn good job of. So miserable that I had no choice but to leave. But I wasn't gonna just let them take my commission, even though they ended up doing it, because that was intended for my mother's retirement, and I wasn't willing to walk away from it yet. And the momentum of having, like I said, being the guy that won the biggest beauty brand move of the year. So that is really where I realized there's no escape here. And they already have my plans for starting a company. I was going to do it for them. So on August 25th, I had my final call with Ryder and Dotcom HR. And that's posted. I posted that a while ago. It's got like 100 views already, which I think is a lot for my first YouTube channel video. But August 25th, that call, at the very end, after I never formally resigned, because I, again, wasn't willing to walk away from my commission that I was going to be owed. But right after that call, within 30 seconds, a minute, my entire access, email, everything is shut off, cut off entirely. I never formally resigned. I told them I would think about it, maybe send my resignation on Monday. And they somehow decided at that point, cut me off. I don't get to say goodbye to my colleagues via email, clients, let everyone know what's going on, do it properly, with the respect that I deserve for everything I've done. That really put a bad taste in my mouth. And that led me to truly decide, okay, I was in a really good position financially in my life. Listen, I could have taken another job and I could have been very happy and continued. I don't need a ton of money to be happy in life, right? I'll always make enough to make sure I have the things I need and my family is okay and my friends are okay, but I was so motivated to start a company to stop these guys, to build something better, with a better culture, that a company that treats people the way that they deserve to be treated. And in my mind, if your number one goal is making money and margin, and like Ryder is as a public company, you're never going to really treat people right if you let that be your driver and your goal, and you're not going to treat your clients right. And the people that you're not treating right are obviously not going to treat your clients right. Clients knew that too. Several wanted to leave Ryder and come with me, but I wasn't ready. Day one, deciding to start a company, but that was the motivation. I wanted to build something better. Ryder's slogan is ever better, and I knew I could build something even better, because I know how to treat people right, and that showed. And I feel very good about, even though things didn't work out, because Ryder knew my plans, and I know for a fact they were behind sabotaging a lot of the things I tried to do over the next couple of years. And we'll get into that, I think, on the next episode. I'll let this one be my time at Ryder. But that's when I left and decided to go build something special to me. And the goal was my own little company, sail off in the sunset. Didn't need to be enormous, right? I just wanted to own it so that nobody can fuck me over. It's mine. I'm in control of how people are treated and who's allowed to be there. And in order to work at my company, you're going to have to treat people right and get with the culture, because culture starts at the top, and that's why Robert Sanchez is fully responsible for everything going on at Ryder. And they're criminals. I'm sorry, people don't believe me, because no one's ever going to. This is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're not too big to fail. It just maybe too big to fail and get the truth out in the time frame I would like, which is as soon as possible. But I will get into that a little bit. I think I said this early in the call, or in this video recording. Just look at the stock, look at the financials, look at everything going on in the market. There's no good news or reason that their stock should be climbing the way it has since October 23rd, when it tanked. I was correct in predicting that they would have a bad day on October 23rd. That's for sure. That was one of the biggest single-day stock drops they've ever had. But having now, at that time, authorized the 3.5 million share buyback, and I'm looking at who's buying it, nobody's buying Ryder stock, because there's much better investments out there, especially with a lot of the technology companies that exist, and nobody wants to buy a trucking company and terrible warehousing company stock. They're the only ones buying up their own stock to inflate the value so that they can borrow more money against it to go buy revenue, because they can't close enough business themselves to support the stock price and hit their targets. And they're also using it to have an inflated stock price so that when they sell their own shares and they cash out for millions and millions and millions of dollars, that they can sell it for more. So I truly hope. I've done everything I can. I've lost all motivation in life, to be honest. Like I don't know if I even want to work in this industry. It's my best option to go make some money. Nobody pays the money I'm ever owed. And we'll get into that on the next episode as well. I'm thinking maybe I'll combine it. Lucas Solutions will also include my time with Rabot, R-A-B-O-T, and the criminals that work there, and another small shitty company called Highline Commerce and CEO Richard Hurley. It's amazing to me. I don't know if Ryder has gotten to them and told them to fuck me over and they'll compensate them in some way, but I've been royally fucked over every step of the way by every company I've interacted with in supply chain. So lost all motivation and passion for the industry, kind of for life in general. I'll have another video to tell you some other things that are going on, but it's pretty wild. If this were to be made into a Netflix movie, I think a lot of people would watch it just to see all the shit that happens to someone, right? I've tried to stay positive and take it, but it's hard to watch the effect that is. Like I said, I had plans for all the money I've earned that have never been paid to support my parents and give them the life they deserve, whether it's traveling or doing all these great things. I don't have any kids, so that's my priority until I do. Try to give my cats a good life. They keep me going. That's my main motivation, right? Is my family, my parents, and my boys, Dilbert, Scotty, and coincidentally, Ryder. Now, do want to confirm my cat was named Ryder 2 years prior to the Ryder acquisition of Dotcom. I might have known about the company Ryder because you see their trucks everywhere at the time, but my cat is named after the golf event, the Ryder Cup, spelled the same R-Y-D-E-R. And I think I got into this at the end of the last video, so I want to make sure I say it as well. Just anyone out there, if you choose to listen, I think you'll regret having done business with Ryder. Get away from them. Trust me. When the truth comes out, which it always does, might be after I'm dead, you'll wish you hadn't been associated with Ryder System Inc. And that goes to Sam Ryder as well. I'm a huge golf fan. I hate to see, I get that your name is the same, right, at the spelling. How funny. I've been trying to tell you, man, get away from them. Don't associate with a company like Ryder. Get away from them as fast as you can. Don't even have them associated with the game of golf. It's embarrassing. This is a terrible company with some of the worst human beings that exist. Truly evil. And in my opinion, there's a special place in hell for these guys. If they don't get what's coming to them in this life, they're certainly getting it in the next. That's Robert Sanchez, the CEO of Ryder. Brian Weinstein, I think he's Vice President of Business Development, and Jeff Wolpov, SVP of e-commerce. He kind of runs that e-com division. I think it's like $4 billion division of Ryder. Those guys shouldn't. They're truly like awful human beings and criminals. Once the truth comes out on what they're actually doing with the stock and all this manipulation, and maybe Brian's too dumb to realize that he's just a part of it, or if he knows what they're doing. And either way, it's terrible to watch what they're doing. But I'll get into some of the things. It didn't end there. When I was forced out of Ryder on August 25th, 2023, that's not where it ends. They certainly stayed. I wanted to get away from them and have nothing to do with them ever again, but they didn't allow that to happen. And I'll get into that in the next video when I talk about Lucas Solutions. But I think I wasn't finished. There's a special place in hell reserved for some folks that I've encountered in supply chain. And I just want that reminder out here. I talked about tailored services on the last video and Jim DeVoe. I talked about the Ryder execs just now. And that company, Rabot, RABOT.US is their website. Chana Ranatunga, Sura Ranatunga, and Sandeep Suresh. They'll get what's coming to them as well. They're a little company that I helped with sales and successfully closed more deals than they know what to do with while I was there for 9 months. It's funny how 9 months seems to be the perfect amount of time. I was with Ryder for 9 months before being forced out, and then Rabot for 9 months when I realized everything that was going on and all these people trying to fuck me over. Yeah, I'll save it for the next episode, but be wary. I'm telling you, believe me or don't, you'll regret having done business and been associated with Ryder System Inc. Or any of the companies I've mentioned when the truth comes out. And we'll see. I've done what I can. I've done everything. I've told people, told brands what's going on. If you believe it or don't, that's fine. I've been called crazy more times than you can imagine. I know I'm not, so that's all I need. It gives me peace to know that putting my story out there and getting the truth out there is the best I can do. If people are going to listen or not, I can't make them. But I've reported them to every government agency that needs to look at what's going on at that company. And I'm telling you, once it comes out, you're going to regret having done business, whether it's with the warehousing and an e-commerce group or with the trucking group. You'll regret it, having done business with Ryder. So I'll see you guys on the next episode. I'll try to be more positive and excited, and maybe do something cool with the supply chain wars theme. But this time I couldn't get myself excited. I don't have a lot of good things happening. Having to change careers because of an evil company forcing you out, several companies, and leave an industry that you used to enjoy and feel passion for. And then on top of it, not having any of all the money I've earned, it does have an effect, right? I don't care about money, but I want to have enough to live my life and do the things that I deserve to do. Support my parents instead of them, helping me. That's not the position that I'm supposed to be in, based on everything I've done and how much business I've closed over the years. So yeah, be careful. This is my final warning about Ryder, because I'm gonna talk about Lucas Solutions and get into that stuff on the next episode. No, I'll keep warning you probably. But yeah, this was much longer. I'm sorry, because I was all over the place after having lost the previous recording. But have a good night, everybody. I hope you start to listen to the things I'm saying.